Why, hello there everyone. I'm Laxow, aka the Kumo Sensei. Minasan, ohayo gozaimasu. And today I'm going to be pairing my Neoholothele incei, my last pair, and I'm using a different male today. This male here is my second male that I have, and I'm going to be using him to pair this last female because this last female is a bit smaller than the other two, so I'm going to be using this male here. But anyhow though, let's get straight into it. If I sound tired, please forgive me because it's currently around 2:15 in the morning because I was working late today, so my voice for this commentary may sound a bit weary or a bit tired, but just know that it's because I've been staying up late because of work. And yeah, I'm very tired today as of the recording of this commentary. Boku wa tsukureteiru. But don't worry guys, because I stay up late for the most part when it comes to tarantula work and tarantula pairings and breedings and whatnot. So this isn't too new, it's just that work puts a lot more tension I guess on you, and it makes you more tired than working with spiders, for me at least. But anyhow though, discussing about this tarantula pairing, it's pretty much very straightforward, and it was also a very short tarantula pairing. I'd say it was a total of about 15 minutes total from start to end, so this video may be a bit short, but honestly there wasn't much to record. Because other than everything you're seeing here, there were periods of time where the male just stood still, so I cut that part out. So you're only going to be seeing parts when there's actually action or something going on. And don't worry everyone, this male comes out alive, so you don't have to be so tense. You can relax a bit and just enjoy this breeding video. And although it was a short pairing, because it was only around 15 minutes, the male did take his time, so at least he wasn't reckless. So usually when it comes to tarantula pairings, I usually introduce the male to the female's enclosure on the opposite end. So for example, if the female is on the very far right of the enclosure, then I will introduce the male to the very far left, and then I'll just wait as long as I need to for the male to signal the female, whether it's through drumming, signaling, etc. And then I'll just let him take his time. So this is my approach to tarantula introduction when it comes to introducing the male to the female's enclosure. And by doing this, you're giving the male time and space to, adjust to the female's enclosure. And you're also giving the male some time to actually signal the female that, hey, I'm a mate, not a meal. Now, one big mistake that I keep seeing is that sometimes people will introduce their males right next to their females, like so close to one another to where it literally triggers the female's feeding response instead of actually, the mating response, quote unquote. So I'm sure everyone here understands where I'm coming from. You just want to give the male and the female space to slowly find one another, so that way they can actually take time to greet and understand one another. And it's really as simple as that when it comes to introducing a male to the female's enclosure for me, honestly. Now granted, some species may have exceptions, and some characteristics of certain species may be different from one another. So essentially how I'm explaining it to you guys is pretty much how I apply it to most tarantulas. Now other tarantula breeders may have their own ways or methods, and some of them have ways that I question at times. And some of you may also question my ways as well. So it's really a each to their own method, I guess. So as long as you have, healthy tarantulas in the end, and they both make it out alive, then honestly that's a huge win. So when it comes to the Neoholothele incei, I find that breeding this species is actually relatively easy, and honestly there's really not much to it, even in terms of conditioning. So if you want to produce an egg sac for the species, it shouldn't be too hard. And I do recommend this as a beginner-friendly species as well for a dwarf species if you're looking to breed smaller tarantulas, that is, because they max out at around 2 inches, 2 to 3 inches in leg span. So they're relatively small for this species, which is why they're a dwarf species. And I have to say this, there are instances where I've seen females being aggressive towards the males, as in wanting to eat them. And for some reason, I don't know why that happens, because for me, I never really had an aggressive female. Because in my experience, every single female that I've paired and worked with, they're pretty much gentle on the males. I don't know why I see videos on YouTube where females are aggressive or food responsive on the males when breeding, so that's a very interesting case. So I guess you could use that as a disclaimer, but I'm just speaking from my experience. Because in my experience, females are actually pretty lenient on the males, up until usually towards the end, but it's very easy to separate them. So it's not too difficult of a task. So if you want to experience breeding some small tarantula species, this one is the one to go to. Now granted, if you're looking for species to breed for profit or to try to start a business, as in trying to earn funds or something, or trying to pay off bills, then this is a species you probably would just be better off buying in wholesale or in bulk from somebody else, because they're relatively cheap and relatively affordable, and people are producing the species readily here in the hobby, so it's not a difficult species to get a hold of for both males and females, or slings in general, because this species is a hobby staple, so anybody can enjoy it, me included. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this species, honestly. Very fun to keep, great webbers, and very great for the breeding experience for those who are wanting to get into dwarf species in terms of their tarantula breeding career, trying to establish themselves as a tarantula breeder. And there's a lot of new world tarantula species that are dwarfs, so there's more than just this species, but I recommend this species because it's the easiest one to get a hold of. And they're also a relatively fast growing species. I'd say within a year to a year and a half, you will pretty much already have mature specimens ready to go, so it's not too long of a waiting project if you're trying to grow them out. Now granted, the one downside that I find for the species is that their lifespans are relatively short. The longest lived female I'd had was about 6 years, and my other females, they usually live around 3 years before they pass on, and I've tried keeping females as just pets and not as breeders to see how long I can actually, live them out. And it usually is around 3 to 6 years, I guess, if you want to give an estimate time from my experience. I noticed that some people say they live up to 10 years, but I have never seen a specimen that has lived for 10 years. The longest I've seen and experienced was my female for 6 years, and when she passed away, she was about 3 inches in leg span, which is essentially their maximum leg span, I guess, that they get up to, from what most people say. Now when it comes to the longest living specimen of this species that I've seen in person, it was about 7 years. Now if somebody has a specimen that has been living for 10 years, I would actually like to see that, because I have yet to see people show me a specimen that has lived up to 10 years with actual data, because some people be lying out here, guys. So you want to get factual information if there is some out there. But man, I really would like to see a long-lived specimen for the species, so if somebody knows some out there, please send me a picture or something. And now, just like that, guys, the male survives, and it's pretty much straightforward. Now I just gotta get him out, and pretty much this concludes the breeding for this video. And I noticed that a lot of people say I'm underrated as a YouTuber or something like that, and honestly I really couldn't care less. As long as I enjoy making videos, and as long as you guys enjoy it, then that's fine with me. I just like making videos, so yeah, that's really about it in terms of people who say I'm underrated. I really couldn't care less, guys. I would really like to be acknowledged, but I think that will come with time. As long as I upload videos that I like to make, then it's a win for me. And I know this isn't the typical outro that I usually do, or I usually say, but that's just what I really want to get out there, guys, about my feelings. And with that, stay lax, and Laxow out from the Kumo Sensei.